Okay. Hi everyone, thanks for coming today. Could someone, let's grab the door right there. So again, I'll introduce myself. My name is Marilyn Shank and I am your Human Resources Consultant with Employer Solutions Group. And today we're going to talk about respect in the workplace. Now respect has several different meanings. The first in the Merriam-Webster dictionary is a feeling of admiring someone or something that's valuable and important. Another definition is a feeling or understanding that someone or something is serious and should be treated in an appropriate way. And the last meaning in the dictionary is a high or special regard or having esteem for something. And so when we talk about respect in the workplace, we're talking about how we treat fellow employees with a feeling of admiration, an understanding that they're important, and having esteem for our co-workers. As I was preparing this training for you guys, I sat down and I read through your governing values. And the first governing value that is in your handbook says we strive to make the road to personal achievement meaningful, rewarding, and enjoyable. We expect joy in the journey and passion in the process. And so as we look at that governing value, we can see that respectful treatment of coworkers falls exactly in line with that value. So today we have 4 objectives that we're going to work on as we talk about respect in the workplace. The first one is to recognize the importance of respect at work. The next one is to learn how diversity is beneficial to the team. To understand the law regarding the treatment of others, and to realize the impact of your actions. And I will be asking for some participation, so if I ask you to raise your hand or volunteer, please somebody do it. Okay. So when we talk about diversity, we're talking about a range of different things, a variety. And I loved when I found this picture of the apples, I loved it because they're all apples. You know, sometimes we talk about comparing apples to oranges, but people are people, right? Apples are apples, they're all apples. But look at them, there's probably Red Delicious apples and Granny Smith and Golden Delicious and probably some Fuji's in there or something. But they're all apples, okay? Just like we as people, you know, we have differences, but we're still all people. So the thing that makes us different in our diversity is maybe the talent that we have and how we use it. Knowledge, we all come from different backgrounds, different education levels. The diversity that we have in an organization can help us with our client needs. Maybe somebody has some experiences that can help a client differently than somebody else has. And diversity can also help an organization grow. Differences that we have are physical. Some people are tall, some are short, some have really dark hair, some have, like me, gray hair, you know, the color is going away. There's intellectual differences. Some of us have different capacities. Some of us learn differently than others. There's work-related differences, meaning you've come here with different experiences in work, you've come here with different experiences in work, and so all of those differences help to combine to make a whole. Experiences, also life experiences. Experiential was on there, and that's life experiences. Things that we've done in life are different. So I really like this pie chart. It's really pretty interesting because if you look at the center right here, you'll see it talks about race, ethnicity, age, gender identity, your actual gender, if you're male or female, national origin, sexual orientation, mental and physical ability. All those things come with us. They come with us, who we are. They're innate. That's how we are. The outside ring are differences that come through our experiences that we've had in life, or the things that we do, such as your role in the organization, your language and communication skills, religion, appearance, meaning how you dress, how you feel comfortable presenting yourself, education, political beliefs. And so all of these things together, all of us have all of these things, and together they make up who we are. So even within a family, you're going to have differences. Even people raised together are going to have differences because of the life experiences. And so because of that, we need to learn how to get together. Sometimes in the workplace, it's a little difficult. Sometimes it's not. But we need to recognize that we have all of these pieces of the pie that make up who we are. So differences can sometimes be the reason why individuals are treated dissimilarly. Maybe you've come here to the organization and you've had experience doing this before. Maybe you've come and this is brand new for you and you've never done coaching before. You've never worked with individuals and helping them set their life goals. And so there's going to be differences maybe in how you're treated when you first come on board. Maybe you're going to be treated differently because of your production levels or how you do things. So there's always going to be different treatment of people because of that pie chart and because of what you bring to the table. And there you go. Education, experience, tenure. How long you've been with the company also can be a reason why you're treated differently. Now, sometimes people are treated differently because of mouth is not working today, because of specific traits that they have. And if those traits influence the treatment, then it could be illegal. Okay, so let's talk about those traits that are protected. That is a legal term that's used when we talk about diversity in the workplace. And the things that are protected are race, your sex or gender, religion, age, national origin, disability, marital and family status. All of those things are protected under specific laws, and there's several laws that govern those. So why should you care? Because harassment's against the law and it's against company policy. In some instances, the harasser can be fined or prosecuted individually. So sometimes if you are mistreating a person, it's not just the company that gets in trouble, but it's actually the person that is doing the mistreatment. And most important, it affects morale in the workplace and work performance, not just for the individual that's being mistreated, but sometimes for the team, sometimes for other people that observe it. Maybe someone's being mistreated and they're confiding in their coworkers, and so those people lose morale. And so it is important to care, and it's important to care if you observe something happening. You need to let someone know, even if you're not the person that is the victim in that circumstance. It's important to let someone know, because we don't want that that treatment to go unchecked. Okay, so we're going to talk about harassment. I've been in human resources for 25 years, and I've worked for really big companies, and I've worked for small companies, and I have dealt with this many, many, many times. And sometimes people will come and say I'm being harassed, but in this context, harassment is a legal term. And so we're going to talk about the definition of the legal term. And that means that a particular class of people are protected by the law. And that's that list that we went through: the race, the gender, the disability. All of those things are what harassment applies to. And there's different types of harassment that can happen. There's verbal harassment. Can someone give me an example of verbal harassment? What verbal harassment might be? Come on, you guys.
Name calling?
Yeah, name calling, maybe using derogatory names to someone in one of those protected classes. What else? What's another type of verbal type of harassment?
Even just casual conversation where you're joking or something and someone overhears it.
Yeah.
They can
take that as harassment.
Exactly. So joking, and it doesn't, and I'm glad that you brought it up about somebody just overhearing it. So you may be having a private conversation, but if it's within earshot of somebody and they hear it, it could be harassment. That's right. And be careful, in joking. I was telling the earlier group that when I was a young person, there was a particular national origin that was always the butt of the jokes. And that's just how it was. And there was this whole series of jokes based on this national origin. And that is illegal. That shouldn't happen. And maybe you don't mind it and the person you're talking to doesn't mind it, but maybe that other people would mind it. What could be some ways of cyber harassment?
Trolling.
Trolling?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What does that even mean?
It means where somebody, like, let's say there's a discussion forum, somebody goes along and says, "Oh, your comment's dumb, you moron." Just picking a fight.
Yeah, picking fights online. So that's when they talk about trolls online. What are some other ways of cyber harassment, specifically in the workplace? Yes.
Emails that aren't proper nature.
Yeah, emails that aren't of the proper nature. So that would be, again, and it could be directed to the person that's the target, or it could just be two individuals having a conversation that is not appropriate, and especially not appropriate for the workplace. Physical. What are some ways of physical harassment? Anybody?
A French kiss.
A French kiss. Well, that depends on if it's welcome and wanted or if it's not welcome and wanted. Okay. Tickling, yes, coming up to someone and doing this on a constant basis could be. And all of these are could be's, and we'll talk about why they're could be's. Okay. And another one is exclusion. So let's talk about these things individually. If there is a behavior that makes a person feel uncomfortable, it could be harassment, okay? Whether it's verbal, cyber, physical, or exclusion. If you are making someone feel uncomfortable, it could be harassment. And harassment generally is also a power play, okay? It's somebody trying to assume power over another individual. So verbal harassment, there's direct verbal harassment, and that's just coming up to a person and saying something. And it could be pointed based on one of these protected classes. Okay. Another way of verbal harassment is through gossip and rumor, spreading rumors about somebody, talking about someone behind their back. Cyber, it could be email or other social media, the trolling that you talked about, and it could be, again, directly to the person, or it could be indirectly, groups of people talking about gossiping online, basically. Physical, and I just felt the best way to demonstrate the physical, and can you guys see I'm kind of in the way here, all of these different ways that could be physical harassment. So here's the boss, I guess you could say, that's getting a little too close as she's looking over the shoulder of the coworker. This one right here, we call this ogling, okay? It's a form of physical harassment where you're just eyeballing someone, and everybody knows, men and women know what that is. This is just humiliation, and I've had things like this happen, where someone just throws water on somebody or just does things to demean them in the office. This one here, pushing or fighting. This one, blocking. This picture right here is kind of a sexual harassment type of connotation, but it could be any time that you are harassing someone based on one of those protected classes and you block their way and you don't let them get out of the way. And this one, it's just, just kind of gentle touching or brushing up against somebody intentionally. All those types of things are physical harassment. Exclusion, leaving someone out deliberately because of their protected class. Okay, now it's okay to have friends, and it's okay to have your group of friends. We're not saying you have to associate with everybody at work, but if you deliberately target somebody to leave them out because of one of those protected classes, it could be harassment. Observation. This is a physical thing. So what if somebody has pictures up, or you're telling jokes, like your example, saying a joke and somebody overhears it, or behavior in the office.
Or if you're watching a YouTube video and someone else sees you watching that YouTube video and they're offended by it.
And it's not good. I actually had a case for a company that I worked for in an outside sales office, and we had a fellow who was watching inappropriate videos at work and left his computer up, and the office manager went out there, and it happened consistently. So besides us not wanting to pay him to watch that type of thing at work, he was exposing other people in the office. I also had a situation where a manager kept inappropriate magazines in a desk, and he'd continually ask someone on his team to go, will you go get in that drawer and, get this out? And it was there purposely to harass. So even though he wasn't doing it directly, and he wasn't there and saying, hey, look at this picture, or would you do this for me, it was there, and it was observation. When I had a consulting firm in Reno, I had a client that worked in, they had what do they call it, like a junkyard, and in a pick apart, people go and take parts off and sell it. And in his office, he had pictures all over the wall, and I would tell him all the time, you've got to take those pictures down. He said, well, it's my office. But I would come in there, he had female employees, he had clients, and that was inappropriate. There are things that are inappropriate in the office. So that is harassment. Even though it's not pointed, directed specifically at a person, it could still be construed as harassment. And just the way you act towards other people. So let's say that you are having a romantic relationship with somebody in the office, and other people observe it, or things like that. That could also be harassment. So sexual harassment specifically is related to the gender or sex, and the reason why there's differentiations now is because of sexual orientation, sexual preference, sexual identity, or gender identity. So it's related to the gender or sex of the individual, and it's any sexual advances, words, or conduct that are unwelcome. And that's the key word. That's the key word. So if somebody asks you for a date and you want to go out with that person and you're really excited, that's not sexual harassment, okay? But if somebody asks you out on a date and you say no, and then they ask you the next day, will you go out with me? And you say no. And they ask you the next day, will you go out with me? And you say no, don't ask me again. And they ask you, then that could be sexual harassment, because it's unwelcome. And there's two different types of harassment. The first one is hostile work environment, and that is severity and or frequency, like the date. Asking consistently, will you go out with me? Will you go out with me? Will you go out with me? Severity is what happens. So severity, it could only happen once, but if it's severe enough, it could be harassment. Can I have a volunteer? I want to demonstrate harassment, and but I want someone to feel like it's okay, knowing that it's going to happen. So can I have somebody come up and all right, do you want to come up here? Okay. So I heard people talking earlier. So are you pregnant?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Now, pregnancy is protected, okay? Pregnancy is a protected class. So, all right, so I'm going to say, oh, you look so cute. I can tell that you're getting bigger.
That's true.
Okay.
Is that the best you got? Or are you
No, that was a nice one. That was nice. I was just being nice. So that was nice. I mean, that's okay. You're going to assume we're friends and we're going to say that. So what if I said, boy, you sure are ballooning out there. And then the next day say, man, you sure are putting on a lot of weight. You know, you're supposed to be eating for 2, not 3. Okay, so I love you. I've had 6 kids,
You're
so.
fine. You're fine. You're good. If I was insecure, I wouldn't let you.
Okay,
It's fine.
so anyway, but can you see the difference? I mean, there's a way, or you say, you know, you're just glowing. You know, that's nice. But all those other things, and people do that. They do that. Or if you know that she's, you know, I don't know how many children you've had, and I don't want to know, but let's say someone has had 4 children, and they're expecting their 5th child. And you say, don't you know what causes that? And you continually say that to a person, that could be harassment. And you have a funny look on your face. But let me tell you, I've given birth to 6 children, and I have heard that more than once. Or people say, don't you think you have enough already? People say things like that, and that's harassment. Thank you for letting me mistreat you. I hope you still like me after this.
I was just glad
Anyway.
you touched my stomach because I know that's something that people do.
Yeah.
Which is
Yeah.
what you ask.
Yeah, and so that's another thing, you know, just touching and things like that, not good. So if in a situation of sexual harassment, let's say, can I have a gentleman volunteer to come up? Okay, come up here.
I'll be harassed for that.
Okay,
Don't make me cry, please.
I won't. Okay, so if I say, tell me your name. Adam, okay. I like to know who I'm going to harass. Okay, so Adam,
Yes.
I really like that shirt. It looks really good on you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah,
You're
thank you.
welcome.
Yeah.
You're welcome. Okay. Adam,
Oh boy.
I really,
Yeah.
I really like that shirt.
Thank you. All right.
you.
Awkward.
Okay, so I'm not going to harass you anymore. Are we still friends?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Thank you. You can sit down.
Totally blushing now.
Okay, me too. I would never do that. I have to tell you though, I was doing training one time for a company, and my son's best friend worked there, and he was about 22 or 23, and he volunteered. Oh my gosh, that was really funny because I'd known him since he was a kid, and I did that to him. But anyway, okay, so see the difference. And even though that only happened one time, and if it would have continued, I mean, it could have gotten more severe, but that could be sexual harassment. And the reason why I always say could be, I'll tell you in a minute, okay? So you can see the difference. It's okay to compliment people. It's okay to be nice. We want you to be nice. We want you to like each other. Just those over-the-top things that are going to make somebody feel uncomfortable is what you can't do. The other type of sexual harassment is called quid pro quo. Does anyone know what that means? It means this for that. It's Latin. So, if you'll go out on a date with me, I will get you that raise. If you'll go on my business trip with me, I'll see that you get the promotion. If you don't sleep with me, you're going to lose your job. That is quid pro quo. Now, that only applies to people in authority over you, supervisors and above. So somebody that can create a tangible employment action for you is somebody who could create a quid pro quo sexual harassment. Okay, intangible employment action would be like a raise, a promotion, a demotion, a transfer, all those types of things. So this could be anybody, and this includes also clients, vendors, co-workers, subordinates, supervisors, and this is always only supervisors, and generally should be somebody who's in your line up and down, okay? That's generally who that's going to be. Now, what determines harassment? It's the perception, not the intent, okay? So you may just be joking, but if the person doesn't take it as a joke, it's not a joke. Well, what if you've got someone that's really sensitive? I mean, there are people, you know, if someone was to open the door for me, if a gentleman was to open the door for me, I would say thank you. I like that. I think that's really, really nice. Some people don't like it and they're offended by it. Okay. Yes.
Do you get in trouble for anything then if it's their perception? It's like, well, how?
Yes. The answer to your question is yes, if it was just that. But the courts saw what was happening, so they established this. It used to just be called the reasonable woman standard, but then they realized that women could harass men, men could sexually harass men, women could sexually harass women. So it became this reasonable person standard. So if a reasonable person would take offense to it, then if a reasonable person would take offense to it, then it would be considered harassment, okay? So if someone's just uber sensitive, it's not going to happen. If someone doesn't like compliments, but a reasonable person would say that was just a compliment. You know, if a reasonable person would say he was just asking her out on a date, or she was just being friendly, then it's not going to be harassment. So that's what protects you, okay? And generally, when people say they were just joking, sometimes they're just joking, but sometimes they're not just joking, and they were meant to have kind of that power play that we talked about earlier. Okay, let's see. Also, another thing that determines harassment is if someone asks you to stop, stop. If you don't stop and you keep doing it, like the date scenario, will you go out with me? No, no thank you. Will you go out with me? No, I'm really not interested. I really, really want to take you out. I bought these tickets for us. No. Okay, no means no, stop means stop, don't means don't. Okay, so if you're asked to stop, stop. It's not going to be harassment. One of the things that I like to tell people is there's like this line. You know, everybody has a line that could be crossed. The problem is it's invisible and it travels. Okay, so we don't know where any person's line is. You know, my line might be clear out here. Your line might be really up close to you, you know. And so, and I'm not just talking about personal space, I'm talking about things that we tolerate. And so it's really hard to know where that line is. So just be sensitive to body cues. Sometimes somebody will say stop and it's not vocally. Okay, it's going to be that uncomfortableness. When I put my arm around him, you know, you could kind of see his shoulders go like this and his head go down, and he physically turned his body, didn't he? He didn't tell me to stop, but that body language said that he was uncomfortable. So how do we avoid harassment? Don't intentionally offend. Okay? Just don't do it. Play nice. And don't take offense. Just know that some people are nice. You know, some people are touchy too. This is one thing I didn't. Some people just like to touch your hand or something when they talk. Yes. Yes, I'm kind of a huggy person too, and it's hard, you know. But don't take offense. You can generally tell, and don't intentionally offend. And apply good old-fashioned manners. Be professional at work. You know what things should take place in the workplace and what things shouldn't. Okay, another thing that I want to talk about is bullying. Because remember in the beginning I said harassment is a legal term in this sense, and it applies to those protected classes. But sometimes people use the term harassment when they mean bullying. And bullying is mistreatment of any type, and that is against company policy. So don't think you can get away with it just because it's not motivated by one of those protected classes. Be nice to everybody. If you are bullying someone, you could receive discipline, including termination. So, what do you do if you feel like you have been victimized, either by bullying or harassment? The first thing you need to do is ask for the behavior to stop. And generally it does. I would say 98% of the time, if you're being harassed and you ask someone to stop, it will stop. There are times that it won't because some people are just jerks and it won't stop. But generally it will. And a lot of times when you ask someone to stop, they will apologize. Most of the time, I would say, people will apologize. If it continues after you've asked it to stop, or you don't feel comfortable asking for it to stop, you need to report it to a supervisor. It doesn't have to be your supervisor, because sometimes supervisors are the culprits. So it can be any supervisor, member of management, or it can be human resources, or you can call me at ESG. And my phone number is going to be here at the end of this. So any of those ways are how you can report a situation. And let me throw this in there. Sometimes there's situations arise and people don't feel comfortable reporting it for any reason. So if you become aware of it either through observation or somebody confides in you, let us know so that we can take care of it. So what happens after it's reported? We do an investigation because we are required to do that. The law requires us to do investigation. We're extremely confidential, as confidential as we can be. We may have to talk to witnesses, but if you're ever asked to come into an investigation for something like this, don't talk about it. Don't talk about it even to the people that you think may know about it, because we like to keep the investigation clean and we like to keep gossip out of it. So just respect the privacy of the people who are involved in it. I can't stop you from talking about it, but it's common sense that you wouldn't want to talk about it, because if it happened to you, you wouldn't want it talked about. And no retaliation. There should never be any retaliation for someone that reports it, for somebody that is a witness to it. And if you are ever involved in something like this and you feel like you've been retaliated against, you need to let somebody know, generally HR or me at ESG. So, in conclusion, first grade rules, okay? Friendship. Let's play nice and be friends. Show respect. We talked about what respect is in the treatment of others. Share things nicely, be kind, do your best, and make good choices. Most of all, have fun. Do I have any questions? Okay, that's me. That's my phone number. Thank you guys for coming.